So last time we were. You want to say something?
Yeah.
Yes. What do you want to say something? You have raised your hand.
Oh, oops. I didn't mean to do that.
Okay, I thought that I let me. So last week, we understood that what is our place in the entire universe. And when we reflect on, are we really significant in time, in place, in relations, in situations, at every moment in our life? We are totally insignificant. But our ego makes us significant. And ego is nothing but body, breath, mind, intellect, plus I thought, plus consciousness. So we have to examine if this name in the form with few attributes, I have an attribute with a long beard, I'm branded as a teacher, you are branded as belonging to different professions. Are they really significant? So our masters teach us that no name in the form are significant as such. Why? They are perishable. What do you mean by perishable? They are constantly changing their name in the form. You enter into your home and you say, beautiful home, bedroom, restroom, kitchen, backyard, front yard. Even seeing the space, we see the home. Even real self is present here and now. We see the people with the name, form, profession, color, gender, age. Ah, this is the problem. I remember I only went once in a remote village, native state of Bihar. My state, I was, I belong to Bihar. Long back, I would say. I'm 65 now, so more than 50 years when I was 14 or 15. Uh, in those days, the houses were built from the clay. Floor, clay. Walls, thick clay. Maybe 2 or 3 feet of the clay. Roof, clay. My grandmother told me, can you bring some clay? And I started searching the clay. I asked her, where is the clay? Even after seeing the real self, we don't see it. And that is why the tradition says the master and a seeker tradition should continue until we remove all the doubts and the ignorance. That is why the mindfulness is known as effortless. We have to only remove that knowledge. When we say it is perishable, There are two words: destroyed. The body is destroyed. No, body is perishable. Perishable means it appears and disappears. We never become aware what is the center of that appearance and disappearance. Body. Can this body be destroyed? Now, in our ritual, if this body dies, we put into the cremation grind, put the fire, burn it. So, is there nothing left after burning the body? No. That is what the science has discovered. We have 108 elements, and then all are matter. Matter consists of molecules. Molecule then go to the subtler level. You destroy the molecules, you find the atom. You destroy the atom, you find electron, proton, and neutron. If you want to say so-called destroy, it's a perishable. It changes its name and the form, and the ultimate, what is the ultimate result is the energy. I don't see the energy. When I see the energy which is not seen by the sense organs, this is what this body is. But as long as we are attached to this body, identify with this body, sufferings will never leave us. I am consciousness. Body is constantly changing. It has to change. But there is a catch in it. That is what our masters are teaching us. So, this I thought with the body, breath, mind, intellect, thought, sorrow, suffering, pleasure, pain, this is the false self. Why? It is constantly changing. So, even after realization that this is the false self, will the false self go away? No, it will not go away. Where there is a false, there is a real self. No, no, but tell me, you have been teaching us this is false self all the day, every day, at least one. Is there any purpose of this false self? Yes, that's how I recognize you, Terry. I'm Girish. She's Anastasia. She's Brandy. So the scheme of the universe is this false self now means different elements are put together intelligently. Existence has put different elements intelligently together is known as Girish, is known as Anastasia, is known as Stephen, is known as Terry. For a purpose. Oh, so you said put intelligently together for a purpose. What is the purpose? I have been suffering. That is your purpose. Master says your purpose is to recognize the real self. That is why we are learning. Are you getting? Your purpose is to live in stress. I have lot of problems. Who doesn't have a problem in the life? Tell me. Who doesn't have? The very change. If the change is a problem, the change is a universal law. Finished. You cannot. You cannot change that universal law. Whatever is seen is constantly changing. It is perishable. But they have been put together intelligently to serve a purpose. What is that purpose? To evolve, to recognize who am I? To recognize I am peace and happiness behind this body, breath, mind, intellect, and ego. That is the only goal of human life. The rest are details. Whatever the profession you do, whatever the relations you are living, you have to live intelligently because the universe has put all the elements together intelligently to serve a purpose. That real self is constantly triggering us. Did you find peace and happiness today? Or you wake up in the morning, do you say, oh, what a bad morning? Think, my friends. Our masters ask us to, they trigger our mind. Get out of that ignorance. Think, reflect on. When I said bad morning, is it really a bad morning? Am I blaming the sun or am I blaming the morning? Does the morning exist so that I can brand it as a bad morning? Did the sun not giving me the same light as it is giving to you all? So that we have to recognize that falls in the constant changing world. What is left then? Only the consciousness is left. The change is taking place in your life, in my life, in everyone's life. The fundamental principle is the change. It has to happen. It is happening. It will continue to happen. Whether you are Bill Gates, Elon Musk, or whether you are living in States or Ukraine or anywhere, does not make any difference. We build a castle. One falsehood, the second falsehood, the third falsehood, and the fourth falsehood. And at the surface living, we say, look at this, I don't know what you know. You are already what I am. I am already what you are. Why you differentiate? Why you say there are two individuals? I'm coming back to the same topic. Why you see that we are two individuals? Prove that we are two. I will agree that. My eyes are different than you. This is what you say, that we are different. I know beautiful people will be jealous. No, I'm more beautiful than you. No, there is a difference. So sorry to those people who claim that they are more beautiful than me. There is no difference. So even if you say that you are more beautiful, can you show me the beauty? Let me take your body, show me the beauty. It is the beauty of the consciousness. There is only one thing. There is only one consciousness. Say, for example, you are most beautiful. I add one more attribute, and you are nasty, you always react. Will anyone look at your beauty? Just think. We need to think.
Mhm.
We build one castle over the second and third. Who am I? I'm the richest guy on the earth. Okay. There is one master who is very well known all over the world. He has centers in US, and I don't want to name specifically him. Otherwise, people will feel bad. I met him somewhere in India. He said, "You join me, and I'll make you a chief of Australia unit of my all the centers." I asked him only that I'm ready. Tell me, because you are making me a chief, because you realize that I can teach you what you teach. He said, yes. Can I teach something else than what you teach in your centers so that I experience the sense of freedom? He started smiling. I said, I got an answer. I'm not joining you. It happened almost 30 years back in India. I gave you a background story, but now the real story comes. So then he asked me, who is your master? And I told him he lives there and etc. He went there to meet my master. When I was in Indonesia, now this master was narrating a story about bragging himself. Pay attention. This is what is happening to all of us every day in our life. Now I have a 70-acre monastery in the central India, more than 100 centers I have. More than 10 million people follow me. My master was listening. My master asked him that, have you finished? Yes. Do you want me to respond? So this master said yes. Said that the entire universe belongs to me, out of which you have only 70 acres of land. So when I identify completely with the entire universe, that is what the awakening is. So when I returned to India, and my master said, your guru has come to me. I said, you are my guru. You made many gurus. Do you see the I how with that confidence you say, come on, entire universe belongs to me, out of which only 70 acres, the tiny part belongs to you. What is that tiny part? Name in the form. This is what I'm talking about. Name in the form. So when I identify myself with the name and form, I get limited. And you limit the consciousness? No. And when you limit consciousness by identifying yourself as a name, form, profession, etc., wealth, and etc., then what happens? That limitedness causes the sense of insecurity. From the insecurity comes the dissatisfaction in your life. Insecurity, dissatisfaction, unhappiness. Look at it. I'm limited, so I feel insecure. You have a bigger house, you are more beautiful. So that divides. My mind in ignorance divides and perceives, my friend. Every division causes the limitedness causes the insecurity. And this guy, who is so much known by 10 million people, he so called 10 million people are his students. So, what he's teaching? What is teaching? Name in the form. It's very typical and challenging to recognize whether one is teaching from this tradition or not. He is also teaching from the same tradition, but he has a sense of limitedness. Let's look at 70 acres, how 70 acres is compared to the entire universe. That universe is superimposed. That word is superimposed on the consciousness, the way the false self is superimposed on the real self. Are you getting it? Say yes, even if you are not getting it. It's okay. The way this name in the form is superimposed on the real self, which is one consciousness. The same thing, the entire universe of name in the form, different countries, USA, India, and Ukraine, and the Russia, etc., are superimposed on the one consciousness. What is that reality? There is only one real self. So this master explains through the metaphor. Now you can remember. I explained what he explained through the metaphor, the part space, the space inside the pot and the space outside the pot, they are the same. They are cannot be separate. Even to say they are same is to abuse that space. To say that I am different and separate from you, I am abusing the highest real. It has nothing to do with religion, cult, dogma, and belief. Forget about that. I told you the story of everything was made up of the clay. And I was searching the clay inside the house. Do you see, I'm comparing the four metaphor, the fourfold consciousnesses. So someone asked the master, consciousness is one, why you have divided? Because that is the way you perceive. I have to explain you from where you are, the master says. When we remove that ignorance, so pot space, the space inside the pot and the space outside the pot is a great space, or you can say the infinite space. He named it as a great space. So the space inside the pot, nothing happens to it, even if the pot is broken, crushed. Do whatever you want to do. The space, nothing happens. That is the real self at the individual level. And then what is the supreme self? The greater space. When we say the space inside the pot and outside are the same, the real self is the supreme self. Have we broken the limitations? We have not broken, we have removed the ignorance. We have removed the ignorance. We have removed the wrong notion. What is that wrong notion? I'm limited. How come you are limited? You are one conscious. Everywhere there is a clay. No, that is a house. No. Oh, that house is an individual. Now you are identifying with the walls made up of the clay as an individual. So I'm identifying myself with the body, mind, intellect, ego, I thought as an individual. There is no individual as such. Tell me, where is the individual? So that is the reflected consciousness at the individual level. My friends, we have to contemplate and reflect. Why intellect should have a conviction. That conviction removes all the impurities of the mind and we recognize what we already have. So fourfold consciousnesses, that is what we are talking. So real self, the spot space, outer space, they both are one. They both are real. So there is a reflected consciousness. A reflected consciousness. From that reflected consciousness, I see myself as an individual, as a limited. The way I see myself as an individual, the same way on that great space, the entire universe is reflected. Entire universe is reflected. And that entire reflected, or you can say the great reflected universe as one unit is called God. Do you mean say the reflected consciousness is God? Yes. Do you want to say the God is false? Check yourself. What is the basic principle? Anything we give the name God, which has a name in the form, is going to change. So if you say one consciousness pervading everywhere of the nature of peace and happiness, yes, you can name it as a God. That's okay. God without name in the form. But if you name in the form, so we have four consciousnesses, four consciousness, individual consciousness, reflected consciousness, universal consciousness, reflected consciousness. What is reflected cannot be true. So they are dissolved. Out of the four, the two has gone. Now the two is left. One is the real self, and the other is the supreme self. Means the space inside the pot and the space outside the pot. But we have already resolved that differences. It is only one consciousness. What is left? That is the ultimate reality. We are that real. That is the journey of mindfulness. 1 minute or 5 minutes of instant meditation, it doesn't work that way. You are limiting yourself in time. Who created the time? The mind. What is mind? Mind is the reflected consciousness. So you are talking from the reference point of individual. Individual means pot. I recognize the pot first. I recognize my house first. You have a beautiful house. Okay. I'll come to you and I'll take the space out of your house and keep your house with you. Let me see. Keep your house with you. I will take the space out of you. So the house is superimposed. but it is superimposed intelligently. Again, I'm coming back to the same. It is superimposed intelligently. By whom? By the same consciousness. Can you say that I'm a self made man? Oh, so you created your body, mind, intellect. Very good. You're a self made. Or self made women, we always use it. Did you create your body? Did you create your mind to function? Did you create your breath to function intelligently? No, I'm very intelligent. Really? I see how intelligent you are. Do you see that? Then I see that reality in myself. Then I am full of that sense of auspiciousness in my life at every moment. I'm so grateful that look at this, you consciousness has put this body, breath, mind, intellect, ego intelligently to function as an individual level to serve a purpose, to evolve myself, to reach to the highest state of awakening. Did I make this sentence correctly? Look at it, my friend. That is the journey. That is why, but now we have lot of doubts and doubts that this master is going to remove. I just explained in another way that what he meant by the fourfold consciousness, it is nothing but only one. To recognize, to realize, to live within, from that center. And the universe has already created an intelligent creature, intelligent name in the form. So I use it as an instrument so that false self also becomes a perfect instrument of the real self. That is what is known as realization. First is the awakening to that one reality. And after, once we recognize that reality is constantly working and functioning through this intelligent setup. Through this intelligent setup. Did you did you ever think that, oh, it is this body, I created the body, then I created the breath. Did you create it? Or it is an intelligent, different elements are put together intelligently to serve a purpose? We don't recognize this intelligent operation and blame and complain and reaction and anger and hesitation and suffering, unnecessary suffering. Even after intellectual understanding, certain doubts remain. Just after the session, the mind returns to that individuality to remove all those wrong notions. The journey begins with this metaphor. So, friends, close your eyes and so eyes are closed. Individual consciousness, which is a part of reflected universal consciousness. superimposed on the only one consciousness. Yes, I could see that. So, what happened? The moment you see that, all the four consciousness resolved into one. Oh, that resolves into one. Yes, I could see that. When you see that, what do you mean by that? Do you see that? I told you, my friend said, I told you. What did I say? I told you, play house. So the mind is not working, and in those moments of awareness, when the mind is not working, mind will not divide and perceive. So what is left is the pure awareness, and that consciousness is always comfortable. Now, see, I am changing the description of being comfortable again. What I said, that consciousness is always comfortable. I have to recognize that and then use any approach, intelligent approach. So, what I used, I said, look at the neck joint, name in the form. It is reflected consciousness superimposed. Oh, then I go deeper. At the subtler level, I experience sensation, comfort, and steadiness. Oh, still it is a name in the form, it is an attribute. I land up in the space, the infinite space. Infinite space. Now pay attention. Infinite space outside creation by the mind. False creation by the mind. Because it is the same with the space inside. So where we are, one consciousness, pure awareness. Cognitive ability to recognize the subjective reality is what the mindfulness is. Nothing less, nothing more. Now, why you use the word nothing less, nothing more? Because the moment I use the word nothing less, nothing more, it is subjected to change. What is subjected to change? It is false. So, how the false should help me? The false is put together intelligently. Oh, to recognize that. What happens? I'm ever comfortable. That comfort is beyond the time and the space. That comfort is beyond the 70 acres of the monastery. What is that 70 acres of the monastery? Individuality. My body, breath, mind, intellect, name, form. A long list. I'm none of them. Being carefree. Look at being carefree from a different perspective. Being carefree, what you're saying. Being carefree. So I'm talking with reference to the mind. Wrong notion. Free from all the cares of the mind. Mind is a reflected consciousness. Reflected consciousness plus the thought is also reflected there. Feelings, emotions, any thought pertaining that I am an individual is reflected first, silently. And then only I recognize this is my mind. Then I recognize this mind has a crazy thoughts, unwanted, unwelcome thoughts. So you are aware from the very first point. Reflected consciousness has the thoughts. I do not have any thought. All these thoughts are feeling, emotions, experiences takes place in the reflected consciousness that is the mind. Am I the mind? No. So then what happens? Unwanted, unwelcome thoughts are entering into the mind. Nothing happens to me. It is just like the traffic moving on the road and I'm standing across. It is like the birds flying in the sky. Nothing happens to the sky. Do you have that awareness here and now? That awareness is what I have been explaining as a lane number two. So what is happening now? The intellect has taken over the mind. That we have to see. Oh, that's good. I'm still thinking. You are also thinking. And then what happens? The intellect says this passion is the rule, unaffected. What is your experience, the calmness and the peace? What is this calmness and peace? It is the nature of the consciousness. If the calmness and peace we experience at the individual level is limited, confined to the territory of the body, mind, breath, and notion. But if it is not confined to the territory of the body, the name and the form, peace is always there. Joy is always there. Now, see what I discussed today: body, breath, mind, intellect, ego, thought, feeling, sensation, frustration, anger, anxiety, duality, all are put together intelligently for a purpose. What is that purpose? To evolve, to recognize, to realize that I am the one pure consciousness, which is the real self. Do you think at the individual level you say that you have a lot of stress? So does the stress put to you intelligently to make you more stressed? Or the moment you have a stress, you want to get out of it? Not only we, my friends, not every living creature has the same urge. They don't have a proper instrument like us, so that they cannot express it. From where the intelligence has come in those living species which cannot think. It comes from the consciousness. That is our real nature. What exactly are we doing anything? So the moment I do anything, so there is a doer. And that doer is I thought reflected consciousness working as an individual. Why Master says that you transcend the mind? Why Master says you meditation is not doing anything. Even to say doing nothing confuses the mind. Which mind is confused? The same with the I thought. The problem is that I thought. Problem is not what you do and what you don't do. Do you breathe 24 by 7? No. Do you recognize you are a sleeper in deep sleep? No. Do you pump your heart? No. Do you eat food and sit down to digest the food? 99.99999%. We are not doing anything. Point, point one, no, point 0 to the power of 50, 1% we are a doer. But we made that doer, that ego, such a magnanimous. That is the ignorance. We have created such a, we made that insignificant I the most significant. That is the problem. Why I'm speaking, you just recognize that. I-ness. I-ness is I thought. Take this I thought as you treat unwanted, unwelcome thoughts. You are beyond time and the space here and now. You are beyond the clay house that I saw. My grandmom is asking me to bring some clay, and I could not find it. Where is the clay? That is the beauty of this journey. Wherever we go, we find that real self, but we do not recognize. It is in front of us and we don't recognize. So, in the beginning of this higher, so called higher journey, we become aware of the breath that is going in and out. But our attention is that we do not become the doer of the breathing. Means what? We do not change the rate and the rhythm of the breath. This is what Buddha did. Buddha rejects all the notions of changing the rate and the rhythm of the breath and controlling the breath because if you are a controller, there is I-ness. There is a casual awareness of the breath going in and out, again in and out. So again, there is a recognition of I-ness. Then only we can say, do you see that? Oh, the breath is moving, just moving. What is moving breath? It is a change. Do you recognize where there is a change, there is a false, but that false has a purpose. Do you recognize the purpose of the movement of the breath? To recognize the one existence, one consciousness. This is what the Buddha said. What we understand is totally different. Normally say we focus on, no, you need not to focus on the focus means I-ness return. Just awareness. Awareness with change of the breath that reflects, that helps me to recognize what is not changing. The playhouse helps me to recognize it is not a house, it is a clay. Everywhere there is a clay. In the beginning, when we find we are totally absorbed, in the very beginning, our experiences as if the body is totally frozen, as if everything has stopped. I'm just comparing roughly. That's a sort of awakening. And after that, the realization comes. What is that? Even if the body moves, even if you are speaking, you speak, but you are not a speaker. You are walking, but you are not a walker. Why? That wrong notion has gone. You say you are living in a house, but no, the house belongs to you. This body is also a house. All the limitedness are broken. But still you see the clay house. My master used to say that spirituality, that mindfulness state, exist in between the contradictions. I see the clay, you see the clay house. Or I can say that I see the clay house and also the clay. I see the body, plus I see the consciousness. Alone is. I experience the pain plus consciousness are together intelligently to evolve me. Otherwise, the mind will not work to go to transcend the pain. And all pains are sign of limitedness. Nothing less, nothing more than that. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Bring your mind on the right hand, your mind on the left hand. Lift your both the palms, place it on your eyes. Open the eyes inside the palms. Know your experiences. Bring the hands down. We'll share our experiences now. That is also a step ahead. How are you, Stephen?
I'm good. Thank you. Very deep. Um, it, I listened intently, trying to grasp the lesson. And what came out of it for me, I don't know if I could articulate this, but it really came to me is that from the time we start learning, we're put into this limitation. And that's part of these past impressions. You live here, you do this, you have to be here at a certain time, you have to be here at work. And, those create this limit, and those what creates our problems. So if you put that to the side and take what you're saying about this great space, and the real self exists and it's always there. It's the fact that when we identify on the small scale as individuals, that's where all the ignorance takes place. When, as your master put it, you have 70 acres and I have the whole universe. It's realizing that everything is bigger than ourselves. And because of that, I just started bouncing these ideas off going back and forth, and then I was like, and then I realized those buts was when I re-identified with the mind, the body, the individual aspects of this thing, and all of a sudden my meditation just became like thoughts about this concept or nothing, and I realized that nothing was the bigger space because nothing mattered. It wasn't. There was nothing to worry about. It was just peace and happiness and whatnot. So it really, I don't want to say drew a line because then I'm creating limitations. But the last concept of this thought, and I'll end there, was the fact that I don't live in my house. I live in a space, and my
Yeah.
house is just part of the space,
Yes.
and it's bigger and greater than all of this. So I hope I could take that away and expand on that and know the real self is there all the time. And I've got to got to undo what I've learned all these years and identify with the real self.
Beautiful, Stephen. I think he explained each and every aspect so beautifully. So why I always encourage you to share your experiences. It tells how much you have absorbed. What is the reference point of your absorption of this wisdom coming from the teachers? And once that level of absorption is there, you live into that awareness. Here and now, you are living into that real self. You have broken all the limitations. All these limitations are a psychological barrier, if I say. They are psychological barriers. So what are the physical barrier? I am the body. Physical barrier begins. 70 acres versus the entire universe. Beautiful narration, beautiful explanation. How are you, Brandy?
Good morning. I'm good. My meditation was really absorbed today and relaxing and peaceful.
Relaxing and peaceful, beautiful. Always see that we did nothing and still we are in peace and happiness. If you see the takeaways from both Stephen and Brandy, we did nothing actually. We understood, we recognized. So when you have a cognition internally, you are breaking those limitations. So when you break these limitations, that is the meaning of moving from ignorance to wisdom. You already know tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Moving from ignorance to wisdom is the journey. How are you, Sam?
Oh, uh, I feel quite a bit different
Good.
coming out of this meditation as opposed to the last quite a few meditations. I can describe it as the others being feeling very deep, but almost losing consciousness, like losing some awareness. This one I was very I felt more bright and much more focused on what you were saying. And I feel a lot more energy coming out of the meditation.
Without breathing,
Huh?
without any breathing practice.
Right.
That's so beautiful. When you say bright, obviously that brightness is nothing but the wisdom, that knowledge that strikes to the intellect. And when it strikes to the intellect, intellect is nothing but the knowledge. The knowledge takes over the mind. And why it has to take over the mind? Because mind is impulsive. Mind creates all limitations. So that entire journey takes place. And it takes place at the level of cognition. When I recognize that it is only a space, it is not a house, nothing happens to the house. I did not change anything into the house. So that is a bright spot. That is the higher consciousness. So how are you, Terry?
I agree with everyone so far. I realized that the changing self and the real self,
Yeah.
and the house and the space all exist at the same time. They're all here at the same right now, except you know. And I felt like I was inside the
Good.
a toe of the
Yes. Yes.
the
That too happens. What she's saying, I will simplify it. It's a clay house. The walls are breaking up. Clay is not. Floor. It is made up of the clay, and you pour the water, and the clay is melting, but the floor is melting, but clay is not. So the changing aspect will continue to change. That is the ultimate law of this entire universe. And what is changing is reflected consciousness. And what is reflected is not me. Then I can see the clay remains the clay. Even the entire house is perished. This house is perished. The real self remains as it is. This house.
Mm-hmm.
So why to worry? I am that. How are you, Vaibhav?
Thank you, sir. Sir, I'm good. Calm and absorbed.
I mean, absorbed. Yes. You see, again, we have to recognize the beauty. Without doing anything, we are calm and absorbed. Means what calmness and that sense of absorption is my essential nature, as you all express differently. Beautiful. How are you, Anastasia?
Thank you. I'm good. It was very deep meditation. And interesting stuff happened with me. I didn't feel my body. It felt as, but I felt my breathing and like warm pulsation, as if my body was contracting and expansion and contraction of my body during breathing. And then I lost feeling of my body at all, but my cat came and touched my face, and I immediately felt this area of face, and I recognized that mind can recognize and understand only what it already knows. Like I can feel my cat and my face because I know my cat and I know my face. And that's why it's so important to go beyond the mind.
Beyond the mind and the body. So, what is going to happen? I'm limiting that awareness. So when we have an experience that I don't experience my body, I'm breaking the limitation. When I say that I don't see the house and the walls and the floor and the roof and the ceiling and so-called the different compartments, I still see it. But at the same time, I don't see it. So when anyone says that, I don't see the body, it doesn't mean that I don't see it. I'm aware of it, but I have broken that limitation. Is the beauty of this journey, my friends. Thank you very much. Very good. Wonderful. That is how we should do it. And regarding Ashok,